with Gordon King, who was the El Cariso Hotshot Superintendent at the time of the Loop Fire.
Finally got over there early afternoon, real early afternoon, and we went up on top of the mountain there and tied in with the division boss and line boss.
And so you tied into both those folks right there at Contract Point?
Yeah.
And
yeah, in fact, there was quite a few of them sitting up there, and they'd been, I guess they'd been waiting for us to show up because their tanker crews were up there. They were working northwest of us, going back to point of origin.
Yeah, the Nike site and up there to what is now Camp 9.
Yeah.
So at that time when you pulled in, so you were talking to the line boss and the division boss, and so I know this has been a long time, but you recall anything? I mean, just what they. Well,
basically, they division boss said he'd just come up from down there, and fires laid down in that in the area. What they want us to do is a cold trail, and there's an LA County crew on the other side of the ravine with a cat working towards us, working towards the bottom. They want us to go on down, tie in. But up where we were, we parked the trucks and then talked about how we were going to tool up for what we were going to do, and it was all cold trail. It says we'll just, just get yourself on down the bottom. We'll move the trucks around for you and we'll pick you up down the bottom.
Which is no different than these days.
Okay.
And so
we decided not to take the fire shelters, because it was just going to be a one shot down, and that was it. It's all cold trail. After we got everybody tooled up, I talked to Warren Burchett, who was my assistant, and I told him, let's keep the new guys back. You take care of them, and get to a point where you can watch us, so we can go across and you can watch. Let the new guys see what we're doing. Usually they assign Del Rosa and El Cariso together, and the other hotshot crews to something else, and they would assign division bosses with them. I'm serious when I say that. They usually left us alone.
Yeah, you guys were the
regional crews. After 61, 62, that's pretty much what they did. They assigned us an area, and they told us what they wanted done with it, and then go out and see if you can execute that plan. If you can't, you did what you had to do to stop the fire. Okay. From where I was at, I could see off to the west on the other side of the fire. Some smoke over there, wasn't really bad. Santa Ana winds had pretty much calmed down. It was like an influence of a Santa Ana, not windy. It was just gently blowing through the area. And the smoke that the LA County crew was working on they were on the other side of the canyon. It wasn't coming up as high as we were. It would just barely come up, then it'd go over the ridge and head on out. And it wasn't really an intensive smoke. They were putting it out pretty good. They've done a pretty good job. Looking straight down, I could see a road down below us out there. I could see a county crew. I assumed they were inmates, but they were over on the road down further from where the tanker crew was at. And the tanker crew was actually up on top ridge working down. And I could hear them. That's how, we weren't that far away. I could hear them talking. And as I walked over to the point and looked over, I could see where the fire had burned down below, and it burned up to a fairly steep rocky area and quit. Okay. No brush. That's when I told Raymond Chi, who was my head hook, and he was, I said, Chi, wait a minute, you stay right here, and I'm going to go take a look at this slide area. And when I got over to it, walked down and looked, the fire was stopped over on the other side of the slide area, but up above it had burned up right up to the very crown of the slide area and burned all the brush out. But that had been put out. There was no fire up there at all. But I could see rocks coming down, and they weren't coming down, all the time. One or two would come down. Something would kick loose, gravity, and pull it down like that. And I pulled Ray down, and I said, we're going to have to cross this thing to get over to the other side right over there, because that's where we're going to have to start. And pick it up along that ridge line. It looks like we could go right on down that ridge line, go to the bottom. And You know, he said, okay, said, I'm gonna go across, you stay right here, and I'm gonna go across. If you see anything coming, you let me know. You know, so I had my shovel, when I started across, nothing came down. And I told Ray, I said, you send 2 guys across. You stay on that side, and you send 2 guys across, you be the lookout. And so we did, and nothing happened. There's no rocks flying down or anything like that. It worked out pretty good. And we got about 14 or 15 guys across. And then I decided, okay, I got Ray across, and we're going to go on down. We're going to start getting into a small brush patch down on the ridge line, which is fire was the burned out part was still on my right side, and we'd go on down the line. And like I said, by that time, I could see the road and the tanker crew over about where I was at would be like 1 o'clock over there, and they were much lower than we were, but I could hear them talking. You know, and I said, well, we'll just kind of go down this way here, and we'll go down through that little gully right there, and then go right on out. And that's the way it looked like. So I got ahead of Ray about 10 or 15 yards, and I pulled him on down. I said, okay, come on down. First 2 or 3 hooks, come on down. And they would come in, they would start passing brush back up. And wasn't really that much brush. It was fairly sparse, real steep. I just said, you guys just take your time. We got all day. Don't worry about it. Just take your time. So that's what we did. And we took our time.
With Chuck Hartley, who was the Dalton Hotshot Superintendent at the time of the Loop Fire.
So our role here was to leap ahead of the 2 crews that were on board, pick up the ridge and go black, take it down, and eventually, if things didn't change, we were going to take it to the Pacoima Dam down in the area below us here. Terrain here is extremely steep once you get off the ridge tops. Loose granite, you slip real easy. Some fairly heavy fuels, stuff that's over your head on the ridge tops and dropped off on the south side into shorter fuels that would burn rapidly. All of this stuff this time of year was dry and was readily ignitable. So that's kind of it. We tied with them, had some words about our roles, and we went down the ridge to start our project.
Good, and that was, so let's progress on through the day then. About how long or what time of the day was it when you were about mid-slope down there?
Yeah, it's been a few years now, but around noonish we had actually got to where we had gone down the ridge and hooked the corner and was headed east towards the Pacoima Dam. In the meantime, in these hours between when we got here and when we had made the turn, a couple of other crews had come on board. There was a Del Rosa crew and the Cariso crew, and we compared notes, which was the way things were done in those years, because radios didn't exist. Communications with my crews consisted of 2 to 5 watt CB rigs that we bought ourselves, and we kept communications with ourselves. Other than the like 20-pound pack sets, there was no communications, and it really didn't do you any good if you had like a crew from San Bernardino, because they were on a different frequency. So radios were almost non-existent. It was a lot of word of mouth and the initial information that you got from the person on board on what they wanted. So we built line, and as I say, we were continued down, and we were in an elite frog where one crew would go ahead, leave some space, take off, and then when you get to that point, then you go around them. And that's what we did with the 3 crews.
How big was the fire about this time?
I'd say roughly 100 acres. It wasn't really that big. And again, the wind had laid down, and it was looking pretty good. You know, there was some smoke, but that we didn't have any of the conditions that they had the previous night that caused it to take off, which was high winds that caused the power line to go down. But our initial marching orders were to follow the major ridge, as major as they could be, and take it down to the dam, Pacoima Dam, very steep again, and then we would fire it out. There wasn't too much in here that was worth saving. In fact, none. It was the easiest role, as far as I'm concerned, would have been to just take it down and fire it out.
Gordon King, who was the Cariso Hotshot Superintendent at the time of the Loop Fire.
I was in a sort of a draw, just tiny little thing. And I could look up, I could see the county guy still down below me, and I could look back, I could see Ray up behind me there. And I heard a helicopter. I didn't see it, never did see it, but I heard it. And at first it didn't dawn on me or anything, okay, you can't see it, so, And then, I heard the noise, and later on I assumed it had passed below me in that draw. And I didn't see it because it was below me. And that's when I heard somebody say something down below there about he missed or he didn't do it right or something like that. I can't really remember what, but they were yelling. And then the copter, I saw the copter after that. It was heading on out the valley, and it was climbing up, going around. Didn't dawn on me what he did at the time. It just, he was not on the fire line. He was inside the fire, going down, and I didn't pay much attention to it. And about 3 or 4 minutes later, I saw smoke. And I looked down, and it was still like over there. We were here, it was like over there.
As you're looking,
looking down the way I had planned to go, we were here, and the fire was over there. Like I was looking down at 12 o'clock, it'd be at 1 o'clock.
Okay, and so kind of picturing this was the river bottom down below.
Yeah.
Kind of almost a cliff.
Yeah, I couldn't see that cliff, by the way. I couldn't see that.
And so you got basically the banks of that river bottom, and then off to your right, like when you're talking about 1 o'clock, you actually got a little bit of a flat that's up above there.
Right.
But you're looking almost alignment down in that alignment of that
right.
big chute.
Right.
It turns into a little bit of a wedge.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about.
I was in that wedge.
You're in that wedge, and so you were just from the river bottom to where you were at. Now you're talking maybe 100, 150 feet.
About that.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I could hear the guys clear, and I realized that, it was steep going down, but I knew, I could see there was sort of an alluvial effect going out. I didn't know there was another 15-foot drop off on the other side of that by the road, but I heard something that I've heard before. It's always put a little fear in me. It's fire going through brush. When you hear it once, you'll always remember it. And I heard it, and I thought, now that's not right. There shouldn't be any fire over here. Something not right. Then I heard the guys across the way yelling. And they were yelling at one another. They weren't yelling at me. They were yelling at one another about something. And I wasn't paying a whole heck of a lot of attention about it because I was more interested about what I was hearing. And I turned around and looked at Ray, and Ray was just above me, and all of a sudden, he was higher than I was. All of a sudden, he yelled out and said, "Gordon, get out of there." And I turned around to look at him because, again, and I said, "Oh man, there's something going on here." And he'd already called reverse tool order. There wasn't just my job to do that. Anybody could do that. And they were on their way out when I could hear this coming. No fire. I could just hear this coming. And the first thing I remember was I had dark glasses on, sunglasses. They went poof and fell off my face. And then I knew that what was happening there was not right. It didn't dawn on me at the time what it was. Couldn't feel anything.
Okay, now why'd your glasses come off?
They melted.
Okay.
Hot air.
Okay.
From what I can figure, they went back when they reversed tool order. They went back into the chute, and that's when they got the hot air hit them.
Mm-hmm. And that was when they reversed tool order. Where would you anticipate
they were going up the rock slide?
Okay.
That's where our safety zone was. That
okay.
was the rock slide.
And so it was in the rock slide. That was
right.
established out of the fuel bed lines.
Yeah, no fuel in there at all.
Okay.
So the rock.
And so was that communicated? I mean, as you came down, this is our safety zone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was passed on. Ray and I said, as bad as it looks, it's going to be the best place we got. Mm-hmm. And that was passed all the way back through the crew. That's where you go. That's where we were headed.